upright position. We are ready for takeoff. Our cruising altitude today will be 58,000 feet, and we hope you enjoy the ride. So the topic, we had briefly mentioned it. I forgot on which hangout. The topic of multi-drug resistant STDs was brought up,
Right.
and you said we should discuss it. And I'll let people know ahead of time. I know you said I don't need to give a disclaimer. This is not about getting all the correct terminology and facts, but I will let everybody know Don Calypso is not a virologist. Don Calypso is not an immunologist. Don Calypso is not a medical doctor. Yes, I am a scientist. I work in the biological field, but everything I say, take it with a grain of salt. Please check any immunology textbook to confirm, to fact check, or if you have access to an immunologist, ask them, because some of the stuff I say might be off base, as new information is being found in the field all the time. So some notions we have today might actually prove to be incorrect later on.
Google is your friend, and do your own research.
Scholar.google.com, not just the regular Google. Scholar.google.com. This is where you can find full text articles on any kind of peer-reviewed material. That's where you want to go. And yes, if anybody knows my full quote-unquote government name, you look me up on scholar.google.com, you will find several of my publications as well.
You have been peer-reviewed.
Yes, I have. In addition to my thesis research, there is a couple of articles from my time at Thomas Jefferson University. And since it looks like Adrian Thomas said Calypso, Oregon, something I have not actually done on any YouTube show, so this will be a BGS exclusive.
Okay.
If I can find this damn thing. Okay. Just to give something to the people. Come on, where is the church organ here? Was it pipe organ? Hey, stop laughing. I'm actually nervous here.
Why? You're amongst family, man.
I have not had a piano lesson in over 20 years.
Well, good thing it's not Saturday night.
There you go. Calypso, Oregon. You guys got it.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, you only got 70 people watching instead of 300. So no need to be nervous. Before we really get started, what do you think about your Haitian girl that actually won the U.S. Open? Real briefly.
Well, it's pretty cool stuff. I mean, I noticed the mainstream media is making a big deal about, they're trying to put her up as just being strictly Japanese. When you think about it, she spent her first few years in life in Japan, but for the most part, she grew up in the States with her father's family, with her mom and dad and her grandparents. She grew up on Haitian food. Yes, her mother fed her the Japanese traditional stuff. And people have asked before, why does she have her mother's maiden name? It was for to make things easier to register them in school and stuff when they lived in Japan, prior to the father deciding to move him back to the States.
What DeAndre said on Saturday night is that if the wife is from a traditional family in Japan, normally the husband will take the wife's name. So if it's from a upper class family in Japan, that's what happen.
Yeah, Kirigakure Jones mentioned that too. Yeah, if for example she's from a family that has a higher station.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know about that. I'm not I'm not that familiar with Japanese culture. But in their case, I think she had actually been disowned by her family for that. But to register the kids to go to school and all this other stuff, it would be easier to have them with the surname Osaka than Francois,
Yeah.
That so that was a very calculated move for very pragmatic,
Mm-hmm.
your favorite word, for very pragmatic reasons. But it's not the first time I've heard of her. A few years back, I remember her being mentioned, and then it was mentioned as a Haitian Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the first Haitian Japanese I've come across. There were two of them in my high school in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take on their mother's name, but their mother was definitely Japanese. And when you looked at them, they look more black than Naomi as far
Mm-hmm.
as overall features. But when you looked at their eyes, yeah, that was definite.
This could definitely
That's
give
that's a
away.
dominant trait that dominates over other traditional black traits.
Yeah, well, actually, slanted eyes are a traditional black trait because the Japanese actually come from,
Yeah,
the Asians actually come from South Africa. So you look at
the sun, I guess, from
no, what? Well, yeah, the son, but if you look at Nelson Mandela,
yeah,
the
I
eyes are the
do.
same. So they're
Yeah,
actually they're actually those features are actually very South African.
and I don't know if you've seen in one of the Hidden Colors movies. I don't know how accurate it is, but supposedly the Ainus in Japan, the Ainus were actually black. Like some of the very first samurais and stuff. If you look at them, the
Hmm.
depictions, you know,
Well, they found a 6,000-year-old pyramid at the base, right underneath the Great Wall. So that tells you
oh,
how far the Africans go back.
oh yeah. Well, I remember something a little off topic, but there was in China, they were, some of the geneticists, they had always had this hypothesis that the Han Chinese came from a separate, distinct, you know, Homo sapiens lineage than the rest of,
Hmm.
humanity. And they sought to test it out, not to prove it, just test it out. And what they said, without a shadow of a doubt, the Han Chinese, as we know them today, the DNA traces straight back to Africa.
Yeah,
Their own scientists have said it. Yep, they're
yeah,
African,
they're
as far as
African. Yeah, well,
origin.
yeah, yeah, and the Andalusia Islands actually proved it. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the topic.
Yeah. So with the topic of STDs,
Hmm.
especially bacterial STDs that tend to be multi-drug resistant.
Hmm.
Um, One thing I like to put out there first is there is a misconception people have that somehow taking antibiotics makes the things drug resistant. That's not true. Um, if anybody's taken any basic biology, you know that with any organism, you get mutations that accumulate over generation. You pass down traits.
Hmm.
Now, the difference between us humans who are multicellular organism with a long lifespan versus bacteria who are unicellular
Hmm.
is in a human lifetime. I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure it goes into the billions or trillions of generations as far as how many times they reproduce.
Hmm.
And unlike us, well, with bacteria may have some degree of uh, corrective mechanism for mutation, but unlike us, where every time we do cellular division in our body, we have those enzymes called exonucleases that do a great job at repairing any mistakes in replicating the DNA code.
Hmm.
So it takes a lot. That's why people get cancer later on in life. You have to accumulate a certain number of mutations where you knock out the function of those very proteins that maintain, those corrective actions before all hell breaks loose. Now, when you're dealing with bacteria and viruses, which I'm not even sure if we should describe viruses as being living organisms, because viruses, uh, any living organism has to undergo cellular respiration as
Hmm.
well as being able to reproduce on its own, acquire food, which viruses do not. Viruses do have DNA, they have a protein capsule, but they have to basically infect a host cell to
Hmm.
use that cell's reproductive DNA copy mechanism in order to reproduce themselves. But in the case of viruses like HIV or in bacterial infection, you know, again, every time they reproduce, there is a higher likelihood that any mistake in the DNA code gets passed on. With the viruses don't even have a DNA repair mechanism as far as fix. Well, viruses have DNA. A lot of viruses have RNA, but there is no mechanism to fix any mistake if
Hmm.
there's an error when it replicates. Which is why with HIV, even if you find drugs that can help like target the protein code to figure out to identify the protein code. Oh, that's an HIV particle. give it a couple replication cycles, it'll be different because
Yeah.
any mistake accumulates. It's so variable. That's why when we talked about people who have HIV, if they have sex with other HIV infected individuals, you're going to get some kind of super AIDS basically because you're going to be infected with multiple strains and your immune system can't keep up. And with HIV particularly, that's a disease where it attacks the very immune cells that are supposed to ward off foreign invaders.
Okay.
Now, with the issue of antimicrobial drugs, whether you take antibiotic soap and all that, what happens is in a normal situation, when you have cells that have we have bacteria that have mutation that allow for um, when you have those mutations that may allow them to have some resistance to drugs, for example, what it does is it comes as a trade-off, which I know some people might get triggered by that word because you think about
Yeah.
Thomas, but
Yeah.
in that sense,
Mm.
I'm gonna be Thomas Sowell is right from a biological perspective. There are trade-offs. So what happens is when you take antibiotics,
Mm-hmm.
if you have even one of those bacteria that has a resistance to the drug,
Mm-hmm.
you kill off all the others. All of a sudden, it doesn't have to compete for resources,
Okay.
so it can reproduce. Because in normal conditions, the other bacteria who are susceptible to the drugs, they reproduce a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and what it does, it outcompetes the one that's really pathogenic.
That's how women get yeast infections. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
every time I was thinking about that before the show. That's why when women take antibiotics, they end up with a yeast infection because
Mm-hmm.
in normal conditions, in homeostatic conditions, you do have some bacteria in your gut as well as in women in their vaginal flora, which
Mm-hmm.
they're not parasites. Okay, parasites tend to like have a detrimental effect. This is what's called a commensal relationship, where it doesn't benefit the host, but it benefits the that the microorganism that's in the host's body.
Mm-hmm.
So it does. And what happened is you have a lot of those bacteria that normally colonize your gut flora, the vaginal flora, whatever, and they act as cock blockers for the pathogen. It's kind of like if you have a woman, she goes into a bar, you have all those guys, they're not really trying to get with her. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about them, but they're gonna cock block the guy she's not interested in. So that's kind of the relationship we have with those bacteria. But then if something happens and you knock off all those guys who would do the cock blocking, then all of a sudden the thirsty scavengers have access to her. That's what happens when you overuse antibiotics to
Okay.
knock out the natural flora of bacteria, and
Mm-hmm.
then the pathogenic ones come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why you don't want to overdo it with the drugs, because basically it's a war. We've been talking a lot about Pookie versus Ray Ray, educated Lane, whatever, white supremacy, but the real war that's going on right now is humanity versus micro microorganism pathogens, and they are winning that war because every time we may make a drug that may work, all
Mm-hmm.
it takes, because those organisms, they reproduce so fast, they undergo the evolution of so many generations that whatever selection pressure we put with the drugs, it makes it that much quicker for a new mutation that's resistant to start spreading, and then the drug doesn't work, then you got to find a new one.
So eventually,
So,
we're gonna have a die off.
well, I don't know if we're
Maybe.
gonna have a die off or if eventually our immune system will adapt, but that that is what it's looking like. I mean, if you're just doing a straight projection, not taking into account possible new innovations, yeah, that is what could happen.
Mm. That's what
And
happened. What has happened in the past? Where you get a die off.
well, in the past, one of the things that happened with a lot of die-offs is that was a lot of it was due to poor hygiene. And when there was massive die-offs with the plagues and stuff, and what happened is the population, those people who survived,
Mm-hmm.
had the immunity for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but again, the rate at which human populations evolve, because I mean, look, on average, the average human nowadays lives about 80 years
Yeah.
compared to those microorganisms where you can get several generations in an hour or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a lot. They have a way more opportunity in the human's lifetime. They can mutate so many times to overcome however many drugs you throw at them.
So that's why people like you are constantly searching for new stuff.
Yeah, and kind of brings to what I do for a living. Now, I am not one. I'm not part of the team that actually make the drugs, so to speak.
Hmm.
I'm more of on the analytical side where we analyze samples for people undergoing drug trials. But for
Hmm.
example, with the company where I work, what they do is they manufacture drugs, not chemical drugs that are just going to kill everything like chemotherapy,
Hmm.
but they're trying to stimulate the patient's immune system to attack cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they call them biologics,
Okay.
and that's the thing with biologics. Even though yeah, it is pharmaceuticals, yes, they're doing it for profit. However, those drugs, the biologics, they're more effective. You have way less side effects because it's the own patient's body doing the fighting, not introducing drugs to kill off healthy cells. And depending on the cancer, you can either reverse it if you catch it early enough, or you can stop the progression.
So, so,
So
so basically, it's more like a surgical strike rather than a nuclear
yeah,
blast.
exactly.
Mm.
And much better quality of life, much as far as this you get much higher the survival rate post diagnosis, post starting treatment. So, and I can say that just from my job, just observing from what we do, I can see with some patients over time, you can see there's definitely a change in the blood samples as they come. Now, a quick thing, I don't want to bore the audience to death, but a quick bootleg immunology lesson here is
Uh-huh.
your you have what's called your innate immune system and your adaptive immune system.
Okay.
All right. Your innate immune system, that's your macrophages, natural killer cells. Those are cells that are, they're always circulating in your blood. If something shows up that's your body detects that it's a foreign sub entity, it
Hmm.
will attack. The macrophages, when you get bacteria and stuff, the macrophages start eating them up.
Hmm.
They break them down and they take the proteins. That's called antigen presentation, where you put the protein on the surface so
Hmm.
your adaptive immune system can analyze it, and then you start making T cells and B cells that will recognize that what's called an epitope, that protein sequence.
Okay.
And this is so that's why when you get affected like by when you catch a disease, like whether it's a cold or whatever, any kind of infection, you notice there's a lag time between when you're infected and when your body, when you get like a fever,
Hmm.
which when you have a fever, your body heats up to help your immune cells fight off the invader. It takes a couple of days for your immune system to ramp up. That's the logic behind vaccination. Now, there's a whole other thing about, the theory, is vaccination harmful or not? In principle, no. When you vaccinate someone, which the term comes from the pathogen vaccinia, which was cowpox, what they
Okay.
had found, what was initially found was that milkmaids who were dealing with cows tended to be they would not catch smallpox.
Okay.
That's because cowpox, it doesn't affect humans, but it's similar enough that the people's immune system would develop antibodies against cowpox,
So they were
and those antibodies were close enough that they could
re-
attack the
res-
smallpox virus.
so it would
Which is like,
respond quicker.
yeah, it will
Yeah.
respond quick. So when you get vaccinated, what you're doing is, okay, now I'm gonna have to step. Cerulean Gray is gonna cuss me off for stepping into his
Hmm.
realm, but it's basically vaccination is basically getting some intelligence briefing from scouts, letting know, hey, here's what the enemy is coming with, and you basically got your troops ready for them.
Okay.
So that's why every year, and some people wonder how come they give you a flu vaccination for how do they know what strain is coming? That's because they kind of have an idea based on those strains that start off in China in chickens, and then they get transferred to the pig, and then from the pig to the human.
Hmm.
They can kind of have an idea what's coming, and they prepare a vaccine based on that. Now, with a disease like HIV,
Hmm.
the difference between like HIV and say like a influenza virus, some viruses are DNA viruses, They may be more stable, and some viruses are RNA viruses. Some viruses they just get in your cell, they
Hmm.
replicate, they create new viral particles, they burst out. Other viruses will actually integrate into the DNA of the host. So there are different ways they work. And I'm not a virologist, so I can't give any more accurate details beyond that.
Okay.
But um, what happens is with HIV, the mutation rate is so freaking fast. First of all, your adaptive immune system never has a chance to catch up. And to add insult to injury, unlike other viral infections, HIV actually, its host are the very CD4 T cells that are used to destroy viral particles and other, foreign invaders. So, if you were using military terms, whereas any other viruses just pretty much start lobbing bombs at your country wherever,
Hmm.
the HIV virus, it not only attacks your military base, but it specifically targets your surface to air missile batteries. It
Okay.
targets your hangars with your jets. So it systematically destroy the very weapons you would use to fight a war against that foreign invader.
Okay. It takes out your anti-aircraft.
Yep,
Okay.
it takes out your anti-aircraft, it takes out your runways, it takes out your hangars, it takes out your helicopters.
Okay.
It leaves you completely toothless.
Okay.
So in the end, when people say the difference between quote unquote full blown AIDS versus
Hmm.
HIV,
Yeah.
full blown AIDS is when your immune system is to a point where your T cells are so knocked out,
Hmm.
you can't fight for shit. So a simple cold will kill you. That's when you have quote unquote AIDS. So someone like Magic Johnson with the treatments he's been getting, where his viral load is undetectable. So it's not that he doesn't have the HIV virus, but the combination of the drugs and I guess his immune system must have adapted to the point where it keeps the virus at bay. Just like when people have herpes, that's why you only have a herpes breakout when your immune system
Is
is
okay.
depressed.
Okay.
Typically, when you're very stressed, malnourished, or whatever. Same. And I'm taking a quick look at the chat. I do have reasons to believe maybe HIV was man-made.
Hmm.
I'm thinking it may have been man-made, but it went out of control. Just like Ebola, honestly. Now
Hmm.
this is I'm going on a little tangent, but
Hmm.
Ebola, the Ebola Zaire strain, which started in the town called Kikwit in what's known as the Congo. The last time when I lived in Africa, and there were a few times there were outbreaks, that thing was so horrible that from the time you got infected, in less than 4 days you were dead.
Yeah.
That virus was that powerful. It was so powerful it would burn itself out before it could spread. But this last outbreak we had, first of all, the reservoir, it was so far away from the natural reservoir. I mean, Liberia, Sierra Leone, that's a few thousand miles away from the Congo,
Hmm.
first of all. Second of all, why did that thing take fucking 21 days from the time of infection to when you start showing symptoms and, to death? Sounds to me like it was attenuated, probably
Okay.
manipulated. So again, that's the conspiracy theorist in me is saying that was some kind of a weaponized version. It was a field test that went awry. That's why when it ended up all the way in Houston and stuff, that was an unforeseen circumstance. But I could be totally wrong. This is just me being a conspiracy theorist.
Or yeah, or it could have mutated into
Mm,
a softer strain.
and I don't know, man. The way that thing was, so to go from as virulent as it was to being at the perfect balance where it can be used as a biological weapon, that the the tea leaves lined up a little too well.
It could be.
But
It sounds
yeah,
engineered, just like the 1918 bird flu. So
yeah.
similar.
Well, I don't know if they had the technology to really engineer stuff like we do now, but
Hmm.
then again, maybe there were capabilities that they had since way back when that we don't know about.
Yeah, or you get lucky.
Yeah,
Luck plays a bigger part. Most people don't know
but
that luck plays a bigger part in science than they actually
oh
think
yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff is discovery by
by accident.
by accident. Like the whole thing with penicillin. Uh, I forgot exactly how it happened, but it just so happened when
It's
Alexander
just,
Fleming, as he fell asleep, and he noticed that with some mold in the petri dish, that there was an area around it where the bacteria would not grow.
he was actually eating. He was actually having lunch, and the mold from the
Yeah,
bread got onto the
yeah, which
petri
probably has
dish.
some cheese or something, and
Yeah.
that's why people who are allergic to that's why some people are allergic to penicillin
Hmm.
or aspirin
Hmm.
is because it's made from a mold. It's made from a fungus, and you have if you're allergic to it, you have antibodies that will react to it. That's why that drug can mess you up. And I can say another thing too. Speaking of you know how do you say that allergic reactions and stuff. People
Hmm.
who have autoimmunity, like I have asthma, for example.
Hmm.
It's an autoimmune condition where your immune system will attack cells in your airways, so you get all the swelling and stuff. Just like your immune system is supposed to be able to recognize a foreign substance and attack it,
Hmm.
sometimes it gets a little too gung ho and you have friendly fire. That's why some people are allergic. Like, and I'm not afraid to put this out there. I'm currently undergoing what's called immunotherapy to deal with my allergies, where they're slowly conditioning my immune system by giving me increasing doses of those very same antigens that normally my immune system will react
Hmm.
to coach my immune system not to go overboard. You know, so that's
You're building up your tolerance.
yeah, building up a tolerance. So you want to be tolerant to some things and you want to be sensitive to others. And one of the things that's happened now in the way we live in 21st century, back in the days, kids played outside all the time. They played in the dirt. They
Yeah.
got exposed to all kinds of pathogens and quickly developed an immunity to it. Now, everybody always has hand sanitizers. You every day we're keeping everything squeaky clean. Our children and ourselves as grown ass adults, we're not having the tolerance and resistance to some of those pathogens out there.
Mm.
So that's one of the other things going on. But again, I'm deviating from the topic of
Okay.
drug
Well,
resistant
well,
STDs.
well,
But
let's get down. Let's get to the interesting stuff. What about now? I hear there's a story I think from out of the UK talking about flesh eating STD.
oh, Donovanosis, which I thought it was funny. I was debating, should I
Mhm.
tell Donovan Sharp about this? Would he be insulted? But I couldn't even reach out to the brother because I'm on a 30-day bid in Facebook jail.
Okay.
So,
How do you
but
how do you guys get on Facebook jail, man? I don't get it.
I got a claim saying that I supposedly posted something that violates their community standards,
Okay.
which I'm like, I don't know how the fuck that happened because my personal page, all I do is in the morning I see whose birthday it is. I go on their page, give them a happy birthday shout out.
Mm.
I don't really post much on my personal page, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
the abominable Haitian's reputation precedes him. Huh?
Probably because
Mm.
actually when that whole you remember when the adpocalypse happened and the sisterhood was going on the flagging campaign.
Uh-huh.
And I took a look. I was eavesdropping on a Sister Dolomite page
Hmm.
where they were talking about getting information, and I heard a couple of women were like, "Oh, we should target that Don Calypso since he's Obsidian's co-host." Yeah,
Guilt by association. Huh?
yep,
Yeah, yeah. But back to the subject.
yeah. That flesh eating, I don't I don't know if that thing is new or
Mhm.
if sometimes they might just give it a name today because they finally analyze it, but it's been around.
It's been
But
around, but it's never
yeah,
been as far as it's never been linked to sexual activity.
oh,
It's
I
at
don't know
least
about that.
well, at least in the public, it's never been linked to sexual activity.
Now, everything I'm going to say here is anecdotal,
Yeah,
so take
yeah.
it with a truck of
We
rock salt.
yeah,
But
we just talking about it because it's an
yeah,
interesting subject. They're still studying it.
but I've heard many people in the military who've said that, especially older folks who fought in Vietnam, they said in those days, guys were fucking hookers, in Vietnam
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh
You,
yeah.
you remember that scene from Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
What do you get for $10?
Hmm.
Everything you want.
Uh-huh.
Well, some of those guys. Well, I know there was one thing they called blue waffle,
Hmm.
where they would get some of those STDs where they were pretty much barred from reentry in the United States. They had to stay there.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I've heard that. In fact, that's I um uh, I have several friends who are actually in Vietnam veterans, and they said that is very true.
Yep. Well, I got people I know who are closer to my age,
Hmm.
early 40s, but who in the Marine Corps who did tours. And yes, they've said you had plenty of guys who ended up having to were barred from re-entry in the United States. I know it's this lady who she was in the Navy. She was in naval intelligence. She said she used to be based in Japan. She said there's some disease for some reason. The women who would fuck with Japanese men,
Hmm.
they would catch it. If you caught it, you couldn't go back to the States.
Yeah. Yep. Can't go back to the States because they don't have a cure for it.
Exactly.
They don't
So
want it. It's just like it become just like fruit. Okay, there's some bugs, some invasive species they don't want into the ecosystem. So.
yeah, because typically you bring in an invasive species that has no natural predator, it takes
Hmm.
over and completely
Hmm.
fucks up everything.
Hmm.
So yeah, there are those STDs that some of them were just characterizing them. It may have been anecdotal evidence, but and now the thing is that donovanosis, it made the news because it finally showed up in the UK.
Okay.
But it had been around, but it finally showed up in the UK. So the because I remember because my wife sent me that article when she saw it. She finds all kind of stuff when she's always checking those British sites.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard about that, but then when I read into the article, I was like, oh okay, that's the first time it showed up over there.
Yeah, they said it had like 300 patients, 300 cases of it.
Yeah, and you know what? Tying back to that conversation that had you uh, suggest that we discuss this
Hmm.
is because with promiscuity, people
Oh yeah, more
because
partners.
you remember you said as long we said once people always want to blame it on guys supposedly having sex with men, but you said once the women get loose,
Yeah,
that's when those STDs spread
it
out.
was spread. Yeah.
It's either that or sometimes, well, yeah, is that or also when you fuck raw with people who take intravenous drugs, because it's not just with HIV, with any kind of bloodborne pathogen. If
Hmm.
you're sharing needles, you and you inject into your bloodstream, you bypass all the other barriers normally um, to keep pathogens at bay, such as through the mouth you get the salivary enzymes, digestive juice and stuff, or the skin.
Hmm.
If you bypass that, go straight into the bloodstream. Yeah, and a lot of go in Black America, going back to that gender war. You know how they always want to blame black men. Oh well, you guys are on the down low. That's why you got so many black women with HIV. No, I'm not gonna say that all the women are having like rampant promiscuous sex. What's happening is you may have some women, they're not going around fucking willy nilly everybody, but they
Yeah.
are having raw sex. They're sport fucking with a guy they know full well is taking intravenous drugs,
Hmm.
and therefore, if he's taking intravenous drugs, even if he's not fucking with other dudes, there's still a chance he might catch something, and you will get it from him. And sadly, it's unfair. You could say it's a double standard, but it is a lot easier for pathogens in a man's semen to transfer to the woman than vice versa
Yeah.
because the
Hmm.
woman's vagina is lined up, with the vaginal epithelium. That's the top layer. Those cells are absorptive. That's
Hmm.
why if a woman has sex raw with a guy, she's more likely to get turned out because
She's she's a,
semen, yeah,
she's a container.
she's a container, and semen has prostaglandins, those feel good hormones.
Hmm.
When a guy busts a nut raw in her,
Hmm.
those feel good hormones are absorbed in the vaginal epithelium, go in the
Hmm.
bloodstream, and end up in those receptors in the brain. So, if you can have feel good hormones transferred to your bloodstream from sex,
Yeah.
well, guess what? Semen, if a guy is infected with HIV, it will have a lot of it.
Yeah.
Or if he has an infection in his urethra, if he has guys get yeast infections too, but we may be asymptomatic. He will transfer those as well to her. Or if it's a
Yeah.
bacterial,
Oh yeah. That's why I always tell guys if you got more than one woman, make sure that uh, you
yeah,
basically sterilize yourself because you will transfer that shit from one woman to
yeah.
the next.
And another thing too, ladies, again, I'm not here attacking the ladies being that angry black man who want to beat up on the black woman. But here's
Yeah,
the thing:
don't
when women
apologize
are
to me.
having sex with multiple partners,
Hmm.
okay, that is an assault on your immune system. Ladies, understand this. Every time a man busts a nut in you,
Hmm.
those sperm cells, even though they're supposed to be to fertilize the eggs, that is still a foreign substance.
Hmm.
That if you keep having from multiple different dudes,
Oh yeah.
your immune system is going to go into overdrive. That's why some women, after riding the cock carousel, and that they may not have caught any STDs, but guess what? They may have a hard time getting pregnant because now their immune system, anytime a guy busts in them, the immune system attacks it, and it's hard for them to
Okay.
get fertilized.
So they're no longer receptive. They're actually sperm resistant. That's a new one.
They're sperm resistant,
Sperm resistant females.
and some people develop sperm allergy. There are women who have semen allergies.
I've never seen this. I
Oh,
never
I've
seen.
now I don't have time to go dig, but no, I've seen articles where women get semen allergies where it burns when the guy busts in them.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that one.
Oh yeah. All right, I got another Calypso Oregon request here. Shit, where the hell is the church organ playing at?
Oh, okay. I guess you're preaching to the choir. So it's a Calypso, Oregon.
There you go, Jay Stokes. All right, Jason. Yeah.
Well, condoms may be necessary if if the pathogens continue because there's no slowing down. There's no way to slow it down because as long as
No.
women are promiscuous, that stuff will keep spreading because women are normally the gatekeepers.
Yeah, and another thing too. You know how some people say, "Oh, children are not a blessing," and stuff. You know how the religious people talk about, pregnancy is a miracle and stuff. It is from an immunological perspective. A woman being able to carry a pregnancy to term is a fucking miracle because that child in her body, yes, half of the DNA is the mom, but get what? Half of that DNA is foreign.
Yeah.
That's enough of a difference that normally her immune system should attack it and kill it,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So which is why it's so that's why some guys get so livid when women go sport fucking and they're popping babies left and right.
Mm-hmm.
But then people who wait till they're married and want to have children have such a difficulty, you know.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. Because her body is not as. It's just like being an athlete.
Yeah,
As you age, you're not as resistant to other stuff, to outside
yeah.
forces.
But and then you have people the RH factor incompatibility
Mm-hmm.
where one person had a blood type positive negative.
Mm-hmm.
In those instances, if that first pregnancy doesn't take, if for any reason she miscarries,
Mm-hmm.
that couple is fucked. Because from that point forward, every time the mother gets pregnant, her immune system will kill the fetus.
No. Okay.
And unfortunately I've had some family members who have had to deal with this. So that's very real. So
So,
yeah,
so,
man.
so ladies need to keep their body counts down a bit.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing. People want to see it all about it's about repressing women and stuff. You can
Mm-hmm.
say, let's just say there is a reason why way back when, before we had the medical technology we have now, there's a reason why so many societies, cultures were so repressive on female sexuality
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
like you've even said it. A man's choices generally affect him. A
Mm-hmm.
woman's fuck up affect generation when it comes to mate choices.
Yeah, it does.
And here's the thing. Another thing that outside of the immune system talk and diseases, it seems like a lot of women, especially in Black YouTube, and they seem to overlook or diminish the fact that every time a woman gets pregnant by any man,
Mm-hmm.
any pregnancy is a risk for a woman. There is a very real risk of death during pregnancy and a very real risk of death during childbirth, irrespective of how far medicine has advanced. And which is why it is very important. People talk about, oh, those guys are jealous because they didn't get pussy from the women they wanted, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. When you have women having babies by ain't shit dudes, it's not
Mm-hmm.
just that you got baby by ain't shit dudes, it's that you put your life at risk for an
Right.
Asian dude.
Yeah, well, that goes into a whole reason why
Yeah.
why women get pregnant in the first place and carry
But
babies.
it's a biological imperative. But the thing is, it is very much a heavy risk, and people
Yeah.
don't seem to. A lot of people seem to overlook that just because our medical technology is that good. I mean, I've mentioned it before, maybe not with this particular audience,
Mm-hmm.
but if you go back into like Alan Roger Curry's Blog Talk Radio archives
Mm-hmm.
back in May of 2012,
Mm-hmm.
late May 2012, there's an episode where I come on while I'm at the hospital with my newborn daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was a first on BTR, introducing the baby on the show. Well, guess what?
Mm.
My wife was in ICU for 2 days. Like my wife almost died.
Oh, well, yeah.
You
Sorry
know,
to
I
hear that.
mean, it's that it was that it's that real.
Yeah, and she
I
was
mean,
she was older, you know.
but
Oh,
it doesn't matter. My
right.
mom wasn't older when she gave birth to me. My mom almost died too.
Yeah.
It's like it's a.
Yeah, it's a
I
real
mean,
thing, but the risk goes up as you get older.
yeah.
That's why a lot of women
Well,
say, hold on a second. We got 266 people watching. We have 81 likes. Please hit the like button. Good thing you played your organ earlier. Got over the stage fright earlier because we got down to 300 people watching. So I guess it must be prime time.
all right. If we get okay, I'm seeing 84. I don't know. I don't know if there's a lag, but if we get to 100,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna get on the organ again.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Does well, since we're talking about it, does multiple partners or the more partners you have, is that a risk as far as being able to get pregnant? Say like multiple partners bring multiple pathogens. Does that
well,
take a hit on a
yeah,
woman's body?
yeah. I mean, you have so many young women getting the whole cervical cancer thing.
Mhm.
HPV
Yeah.
goes back to the thing. HPV. It's one of those viruses that when it when it infects the cells in the woman's cervix, the mutations that caused by this virus can end up developing the cervical cancer. And
Hmm.
when you got those women with HPV, what happens is there's a risk that they can get pregnant, but because the cervix is affected and it's weakened, then they may not be able to hold the pregnancy, so they'll miscarry.
Mm. I see a lot of that. A lot of young women are having issues with
Yeah,
carrying a baby. You know, that have to have bed rest and have to have
yeah. Well, guess what?
yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think a lot of them have this issue from sport fucking
Yeah. You know what?
because they're exposed to
I,
so many things. And I
yeah.
see we got 130 likes. So, and
Mm.
guys, I have never done this neither on Obsidian Show nor even on O'Shea. So even though O'Shea started the Calypso organ, so
Mm.
I know I'm gonna hear about it. But here we go.
you
Yeah.
you have started a tradition.
Oh, Mini Me would be pissed if she found out that I'm using the keyboard her grandpa got her to do this.
And mini me is something.
Oh, she is.
She's her mother. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah. Well, unfortunately, she's her dad too. That's a problem.
That's a
She,
bad mix.
she is making me pay for the hell I gave my parents when I was little.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you in female form?
Sadly, yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
No, no, it's not. That's why as soon as I knew I was having a daughter, my mustache started to go gray because I only had a little bit of gray in my beard.
Uh-huh.
But when my wife got the ultrasound, it's a girl. I was like, oh shit. And then next thing you know, within a week, my mustache was gray too. But yeah, man. So let me see if I can recap. Since we have more people in the chat room now, we got 285 people watching. All right. So we're talking about drug-resistant STDs. So the difference between us as multicellular organisms and pathogens such as viral particles that use a host cell to reproduce or bacteria and yeast is that
Mhm.
we have a lifespan of about 80 something years. throughout our lifespan, yes, our cells do divide, reproduce, but we have built-in DNA repair mechanisms. So any mutation you get from any errors in genetic code tend to get repaired for the most part. It takes years to accumulate mutations, much less pass them down. With bacteria and yeast, on the other hand, those things they reproduce really fast. Viral particles do not have any DNA repair mechanism, so any mistake in the DNA or RNA copying mechanism as they reproduce, it carries on. So they mutate real quickly. The more mutations you have, the odds are eventually you're going to get a mutation that provides some kind of resistance to the drugs. So when you overdo antibiotics, you kill off most of those bacteria that live normally in your gut flora as well as in the vaginal flora for women. You kill those off, so that's a lot of free real estate for pathogens to come and colonize. Or if you have a few drug resistant strains that normally cannot reproduce as fast and cannot compete, so they tend to die off. You kill off the normal bacteria that's present in the body. Those bacteria have plenty of resources. They can reproduce, take over, and then your drugs stop working. So you got to develop new drugs.
Yeah,
So like,
Black Guru strikes as, is the 80-20 rule a factor of high STDs? What do you think?
If those top 20 guys are STD incubators, yes. If those guys are clean, no. But if they are, yeah.
It could be I don't think it's a big a factor as people think it is.
No, probably not.
I think it's a bigger factor as far as not as STDs but KIDs, kids.
Yeah.
Because a lot of classic men or thinking black men use condoms. So who's the only people she can get pregnant by?
Those who don't. Also, it's not. Here's the thing. Well, unless the guy who's the sexually preferred doesn't have the resources for good medical care, typically, because Ram always says the real players, the high-level players, tend to be guys who are very well off. So those guys definitely, if they got money, they got a good medical insurance plan.
Yeah.
Which means as soon as which means those guys are more likely to go to the doctor regularly for checkups. They're more likely to catch. They probably have one of those plans where they don't have to go through their primary care physicians to get a referral on the HMO, so they can go to a specialist right away, which means they can get access to treatment faster.
And say who has more STDs, ugly people or attractive people? I would say ugly people have less sex. So the odds are that attractive people probably have more STDs.
Oh yeah. Plus, really attractive people can get away with not washing their ass and lack of basic hygiene, which goes a long ways to keeping to keeping STDs at bay. Ooh, I just took a look there. We got somebody, a PhD scientist, Anwar Dunbar. It's always good to meet a fellow mad scientist. There are especially not enough of us black scientists out there, so you get my respect. It's one thing that kills me is we don't have enough black folks in the sciences. And I wish I could see more black Americans in the sciences. I really, really wish I could see that.
When you come from a female-dominated society, and guess who doesn't like science and math?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, but you know what? Fuck it. I wanted to be a scientist, so I wanted that so bad. Okay, let's put it this way.
But you come from a patriarchal, authoritarian culture.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But I mean, look, I've been in America now, in the United States, for more of my adult life. All of my adult life, I've been in this culture here. All right, and okay, even how I always talked about I was a non-select guy and everything.
Yeah,
I mean, I had to, I resorted to houses of ill repute to get my rocks off when okay, the Dominican hookers, they're pretty skilled, but that's a whole other show. However, here's the thing. For example, with my ex in college, when she was packing up and leaving to go home, she wanted to, for us to get at it one last time for the road. But I had a suspicion she may have stopped taking the pill.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and no, she wasn't black, but so there's another story. But
Yeah. Was she
I swear,
female?
I had a vision flashing from my eyes, and I saw myself in the future having had to quit school, get some shitty job, deal, raising kids and stuff,
Yeah.
not fulfill my potential.
Yeah.
And as pressed as you can say I've been in my life and stuff, I had to say no. Because you
Hmm.
know what? I love pussy. I love getting my dick wet. I love busting a nut.
Hmm.
But being able to make it to be a scientist was worth more to me than that.
So, so well, that's too personal. So how were you with the condoms? 50-50, 100%? What?
Well, when I was in that one committed relationship, no, we had gone off of them. But
Okay.
when I wasn't single, oh
Hmm.
hell yeah, oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I
It's
Jimmy
those
had all the way.
it's those committed relationships that get you in the end.
Yeah,
It's not the randos. I
yeah,
can tell you that.
no,
And
Jimmy had all the way.
yeah, I never got a rando pregnant.
But yeah, man. So you know,
I'm on the pill. And back in the day, we trusted him. I'm on the pill.
yeah, I was a type like I know what time you take it. Let me be there. I want to see you take it. And now
Hmm.
this is gonna sound weird, but I was used to seeing a lot of the white girls. They had a timer on their phone or on their watch,
Yeah,
and when the time came every day, they took out their little thing, popped the
yeah,
pill.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, American black women are not that diligent. Let's put it that way.
I know my ex girlfriend in grad school, who was the first American black woman I ever got with. She
Hmm.
was a teacher in the Philly school system, and she used to like for extra money teach those adult night school and stuff. And
Hmm.
she said the most disheartening thing for her was to teach a basic human anatomy class to people in their late teens and stuff or 20s. She's like people who are sport fucking left and right didn't know the basic things as what's an ovary, so fallopian tube,
Really?
vas deferens. Yeah, basic anatomy. They didn't know
What they do? What they
the
do?
basics.
What they
The
do? Take
basics
a
of how babies are made.
what did they take a
This
nap during doing sex education?
I don't know, but there's a lot of people out there who don't even understand that when you have sex, when the guy ejaculates, that it has sperm cells in it, that the sperm swim up the vagina, they get to the egg. They don't. A lot of people don't even know that basic stuff.
Wow. I mean, has the educational system gotten that bad?
It apparently it has,
Hmm.
and I had an unfair advantage. I mean, by the time I was 6, my parents explained to me I had an unfair advantage. My parents are medical doctors, but you know, so by the time when I was a little kid, they explained it to me very clinical. You know, so but it seems like overall, nah, the educational system, with that regard, so when it came to stuff like STDs, man, my parents explained to me how this stuff happened because
Hmm.
actually my father, even though he was a medical doctor, he did his career in public health, and when we left Africa, came back to Haiti, the bulk of his work was dealing with the HIV and tuberculosis.
Hmm.
I mean, for a while, he was pretty much to my knowledge, he was the foremost expert on that, in dealing with that in Haiti. So always traveling conferences to the rest of the Caribbean, South America, presenting and stuff. And you know, again, speaking of STDs, one of the issues as with people with HIV and stuff, and a lot of them in countries like Haiti, you get opportunistic infections like tuberculosis back on the rise.
Yeah.
And just like I said, overusing antibiotics when they're not needed, it causes you to kill the natural flora of bacteria and
Hmm.
let the drug resistant strains come through.
Yeah.
The other problem, which we need to discuss, is I don't know if it's an issue here in America, but we have a severe problem of individuals who do not fucking follow the directions and take the full regimen of the antibiotics it's until they're finished. So when you get prescribed the drug, you don't want to overdo it, but you want to
Hmm.
if you're prescribed to do it for 7 days, 7 days you got to take it with a meal, take it for the fucking 7 days with a meal. Don't try
Yeah.
to do it without a meal because it's gonna fuck up your stomach. Do
Yeah.
not skip on the medication. Do not take it for 4 days and you stop because you're feeling better. When you do that, that will also create a situation where you haven't weakened the pathogen enough that your body can clear it, and it has a chance to mutate and getting resistant. My mom used to work for an organization in Haiti that partnered with Cornell University, and they were monitoring HIV patients with opportunistic infection. And my mom would come home pissed talking about how you had people who've known they had HIV for like 7 years, but they got 3 kids and their oldest is 6, and they got a one that was just born. We're like, what the fuck were you thinking? Oh, well, I was feeling better. Or, you got those women, they're getting treatment to get rid of the TB, because the HIV is under control. So so they can live a normal life. And next thing they show up pregnant. And I was like, what,
Accidentally on purpose.
I mean, that's some, that's what I call some nigatitis B virus shit, man. Yeah. And that is, I mean, my father always wanted me to go into public health, but I'm like, look, my biggest failure as a scientist was not to find out a cure for the nigatitis B virus, because it seems to be accelerated by your level of epidermal melanocyte activity. And I'm starting to think black folks in America and the Caribbean have the nigatitis C virus, which is worse than the one that other people get around the world.
Okay. It's called the feel good gene.
Yeah.
Because I talked to years ago, I talked to a nurse that was from the continent, right? And she says the reason things spread back there is because if they have condoms, but she said people like meat to meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I like meat to meat. Okay,
It's not just the meat to meat. You got some people too. That's the crazy part. You got a lot of guys here talking about they like it wet, right?
Yeah.
Well, some guys, they don't like a pussy to be. They prefer it to be dried. Some guys like the rough friction.
Ooh.
And guess what? When it's not wet, you get the rough friction. You're gonna get tears, not only in the vaginal walls, but you can get tears on your penis too.
Oh yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah.
You get get a cut up dick.
Yeah.
Especially if a woman doesn't shave, I like a well manicured lawn if you want to talk about the vulva. But if she has a wild bush, those hairs are pretty sharp. They can cut your dick.
Yes, they do.
So you got a chick with a wild bush. She cuts your dick.
Yeah.
She's not wet.
Yeah.
So you're tearing up her inside. Your dick is cut from those razor sharp pubic hair.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a exponentially bigger chance to pass STDs from one person to the other.
Yeah, that abrasions are tough.
Yep.
Puts you out of commission for like 2 or 3 days.
And those abrasions could probably rip a condom too. Yo, some women got Brillo pads down there. I'm saying, I don't mean to be rude and mean, but it's true.
Well, last time I saw that if you have a condom on and she's dry, it's not going in.
Yeah.
It ain't going in.
That's why they made Astroglide.
Yes, but Astroglide, you got to lube her up.
But yeah, man. I mean, and then going back to what I said about hygiene. Hygiene is important too.
Crumlin Herb, stop complaining about birth control. All right, we don't want to hear your birth control history. Okay, go ahead.
Hormone. Look, there are other means of contraception besides. Look, I feel when people complain about hormonal birth control. Now, here's my thing. When I was in grad school, I took a course in endocrinology. Molecular endocrinology. Here's the thing. After I took that course, I 100% support women who decide they don't want to deal with hormonal birth control for the simple fact, I'm not talking about the side effects of gaining weight and stuff, or even how it may affect the mood. It's just the fact that when you take hormonal birth control, the pathways that it affects to prevent conception and stuff, those are some very delicate molecular pathways that it's so easy to fuck things up. Some of those changes might be irreversible depending on how long you take it, what's the dose. So just for that, I would say try to go a non-hormonal route if possible.
Mm.
Because especially with the female body, again, it's one of those biological double standards. There is a lot more fine control that goes on for women that it's easier to fuck things up. You mess
Oh,
one little point in the flow
wait.
chart, you can mess up everything downstream.
Well, try making contraceptives for men. Okay, it's fine. It's a pill form, and see how many things it
Well,
fucks
no,
up.
a contraceptive pill for men is not going to. What they try to do is pretty much
They try to hormone.
no, the hormonal aspect. All it does is feminize guys, turn them into soy boys. Yeah, you destroy testosterone production, but
Mm.
also you basically, I mean, I hate to sound like Alex Joe, but it's like, "Oh, the one that turned the frost gay, oh, the Bilderberger, that's what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
We don't want that. There was something called it was called
Vasogel.
Risug. I think they call it Vasagel.
Vasogel. Yeah.
Vasagel. The the concept, the
Mm.
idea, the principle works kind of like with IUD,
Mm-hmm.
where it basically blocks the vas deferens.
Mm.
So you don't cut the tube like when you do a vasectomy. You insert a compound that blocks it, and then there's another compound they can insert to dissolve it, and then the sperm can go. It's reversible. It's minimally invasive.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it has not been commercialized in Western Europe and North America, it's simple. There's too much money to be lost. Because if you had Vasagel readily available and guys got on it, the
Mm-hmm.
child support racket would end right away.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your child support racket would end right away, but also your your fertility rate would be cut in half at
Yeah,
least.
yeah, but here's the thing. When I say the child support racket, I'm not talking about women getting child. I'm talking about the judges for the family courts, the bailiffs,
Oh yeah.
the court
Oh,
clerks, the
yeah,
stenographers, the
yeah,
court appointed.
yeah. But that's not what they're worried about. They're worried about
Yeah,
the fertility rate. If you release that, and guys, your fertility rate was already below replacement. What happens if you give guys contraceptives that they wouldn't have to use they wouldn't have to use
oh,
condoms.
then definitely that's what's gonna happen. And here's the thing: I
Mm.
remember back. I think I was probably still. I think I may have still either been living in Haiti when I had satellite TV, or it may have been when I lived with my ex and we had cable. But it was something on Bill Maher when they were talking about the possibility for male birth control, and those feminists said
Mm.
straight up that, oh no, they're against it because it strips women away of that power.
Oh
They
yeah, yeah.
admitted it.
No, that's
They may censor it now, but I remember
oh
seeing it with my own eyes.
yeah.
They admitted it.
They admitted it. There's been they're in a conference. They've said it. They still admit it. They haven't censored it, but that's not the real reason. The real reason that the state doesn't want to do it is that your fertility rate is already crashed. It'll actually get worse. So you might as well wrap it up and
Yeah.
whatever society you have in 20 years, you might as well say goodbye to it. That's how come I haven't
Well,
done it.
there will be one thing going tying back to I love to tie everything back to the original topic.
Mm-hmm.
Tying back to the original topic, an effective male birth control that's non-hormonal,
Mm-hmm.
while it would be great for
Mm-hmm.
sport fucking purposes,
Mm-hmm.
not
Oh yeah,
only would it cut the fertility rate, but
with
STDs
STDs
would
would go
skyrocket.
skyrocket. Yes, it sure would. Unless you get that flesh-eating bacteria into the strain.
The donovanosis, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you get that out, and if you show pictures of that crap, man, guys will glove up in a heartbeat. I ain't catching that.
Well, I'm not sure. That's the thing with some of those diseases. I'm not sure wearing a condom is enough because some things like herpes, for example, herpes simplex,
Hmm.
it's skin to skin. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You may have your dick covered, but if there's any other part of the body where there's
Uh-huh.
an open lesion,
Yeah.
it will still be transmitted.
Mm.
And I hope people realize, there's herpes simplex 1 and herpes simplex 2. And herpes simplex 1, the virus that gives you cold sores, which most of the population has it, you can still get those cold sores in the genital areas. And you can get HSV2, which is the genital herpes virus, in the non-genital area, which kind of complicates things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think, I know you're saying the powers that be are thinking in terms
Oh,
of
oh,
population,
oh yeah, oh
but
yeah.
I'm also convinced. But you're talking at the high level, but at a mid level, it's a question of local governments. Because
Mm,
think about it, all the family courts and all that. To my knowledge, you know what? I should know this since naturalization is coming up very soon
mm,
for me. But that's at the state level, right? State and local level,
yeah.
family court and stuff. So at this level, they're not thinking population; they're thinking revenue. Child support is payment is a good way for the state and a local and municipal government to generate revenue because most of that money does not go to the mother and to the child. Most of that money goes, for admin purposes. Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
If you had more guys take, uh, forget about population decline in 50 years, in the immediate future, that's a lot of revenue from child support enforcement that would be lost.
No, we're not. What I'm saying is,
Because they're counting on guys knocking chicks up so they can put them in the system.
no. What I'm saying is, if you cut your fertility rate down below 1, we're not talking about 50 years. We're talking about 20.
Sure, probably even less than that. I think
And,
like South Korea, I think they're below one right now. I think their fertility rate is like 0.9 something.
is it? Did it drop that low? I don't. Last I looked, it was like 1.3 or something like that.
Well, I could be wrong. It was, I
Unless,
listen to I like to listen to TFM, and he always posts articles on his shows when he discusses he goes for different articles,
mm-hmm.
and it was something South Korea. They just crossed that threshold.
Or if they
Like
just crossed it,
just
that's the
yeah,
first time in history. Then,
yeah.
if they have, but
That's why it's made such a big deal because they're like
yeah,
0.96 or something.
what it's saying, if the fertility rate also affects not just family courts, but also education, hospitals, all that kind of stuff. Anything that has to do with children, it's going to affect.
Hmm.
So basically, if say if the amount of kids that you get every year, as far as kinder or preschoolers, kindergartens, all the way up, it's going to ripple right through. Basically, you're going to cut your school population in half.
Yep.
You're going to cut your school population in half, and that's going to affect your educational system. Actually, will decimate it.
Indeed.
Mm.
Oh, man.
So, so how we doing? We're what, an hour in? Not quite.
Shoot.
Yeah,
I
we're an
don't know.
hour
I
in.
have an hour in.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't think I have much more to say as far as I don't have any more scientific information as far as dealing with damn 292 watching. All right, well, let me try again. A recap because again I'm gonna trigger some folks by stealing Obsidian's line. He loves to say repetition is the mother of learning.
But
Gotta
yeah.
repeat it. He's right.
Mm.
You know, when you're taking drugs for whether it's when you're taking antibacterial drugs or antifungal drugs, folks,
Mm.
what you do if you overdo it, you're gonna kill off the natural flora of microorganisms in your system. So
Mm.
all the little bacteria that line your gut that do nothing harmful, that just take place and they prevent other pathogens from colonizing your gut flora, the vaginal flora and stuff. When you get rid of those, what happens is that allows for pathogenic yeasts and other bacteria to come in. Okay, so that could be one problem. Another one is when you are using those antimicrobial drugs, you're not creating a new resistant strain, but what happens is every time those organisms reproduce,
Mm.
mutations accumulate, and over time you're going to get some that have a resistance.
Mm.
But as Thomas Sowell says, which is going to trigger some folks, there are no solutions, there are trade-offs.
Mm.
When you have a bacteria that has a mutation that allows it to be resistant to antibiotics, typically that bacteria may not reproduce as fast as the other bacteria that are quote unquote normal. It may not do as good of a job metabolizing food. It has some disadvantage where it can't reproduce as fast as the others and gets outcompeted. But when you take those antibiotics and you kill off the quote unquote normal population,
Yeah.
those that are left that are drug resistant,
Mm.
they have free reign. They have unlimited access to the resources. They can
Mm.
reproduce without competition.
Mm.
So then you get a new population rising that is resistant to your drugs.
Yeah.
As we discussed.
What about the new? Well, I've seen signs all over the place talk about drug-resistant gonorrhea.
Yeah, because same thing, because with so many people sport fucking left and right with
Hmm.
multiple partners, you know, people getting infected with multiple strains at the same time. What happens is they don't. You're getting to the point where, as the disease is replicating in the host, you're getting more chances of those resistant strains where the drugs don't work anymore. You
Hmm.
know, as some of the guys in the white MGTOW say, you get gonosyphil herpes. You get a cocktail of everything.
You got a cocktail of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So you got people out there with gonosyphil herpes, and you know, it's harder to cure because again, you keep giving them antibiotics, you keep giving those drugs, you kill off whatever bacteria was in their system. Those resistant strains, they got free reign to spread,
hmm
and now you can't you can't cure it.
legendary juice that sex robots will save us.
Well, they will save you from getting infected with something, but actually, what's going to happen is fertility rate is going to go even lower because you're going to have a lot of guys who'll be like, "Hey, F it, I don't need to get with a real meat bag woman. I'm getting my needs met with the terminatrix here,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
there you go."
Yeah, ECOP says gonorrhea and syphilis are becoming, gonorrhea and chlamydia are becoming drug resistant.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, they just did just on Insecure last night. They did an episode where Lawrence uh,
Hmm.
got chlamydia from sport fucking.
Yeah. Well,
So, so it's going to be in the news. It's going to. I guess we're going to hear a lot about it.
yeah. Because and the thing is, you have young children
Hmm.
having sex early.
Hmm.
Because younger kids, they're not as conscious as when you're in late high school to college as far as wearing a rubber and stuff. A lot of people are more afraid of pregnancy than they don't really think about STDs. And another thing too, you have so many people getting divorced now. You got the people in the 50 plus age range,
Uh-huh.
and especially in nursing homes,
Okay. Oh
they
yeah.
sport fucking like crazy, and guess
I
what,
heard,
they don't have to worry about pregnancy, so they don't think
yeah.
about condoms.
Yeah. So
Plus,
they're raw dogging all day long. Huh?
yeah, well, plus when you think about the elderly, I mean, if they're gonna use condoms, then you got, first of all, if a guy can find, if he can get it up and you put on a condom, you got less sensitivity. He's probably not able to keep it up.
Hmm.
And for the lady with the condom, I'm sorry, the vaginal walls are not the same when the women are that much older. They
Hmm.
may not have access to KY jelly, to that Kentucky jelly or to Astroglide. So yeah,
Good old fashioned Crisco does work.
good old fashioned Crisco does work, but guess what? It breaks down the condom.
It does break down the condom. Yes, it does.
Exactly. So I mean, it's
Yeah, I heard
so
of
you have two extremes. You got the elderly who are
and the young. It
sport
was
fucking because they're not afraid, and then you got the young.
yeah, which I heard that. I thought that the rise of, of elderly STDs. I started laughing. I said, and I thought about it. I said, okay, Granny. I guess the little blue pill is causing a resurgence.
It's not just the little blue pill. Think about it.
Hmm.
You've talked about how past a certain age, how the
Yeah.
male to female ratio is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Some of those ladies still horny. Did you ever see that clip? They interviewed this lady. She was like 101 years old or something,
Oh
and this
yeah.
young man was interviewing her,
Oh
and
yeah.
she was like, "Yeah, so how about giving some dick?"
Yeah. She wanted dick for her
She wanted
birthday.
dick real bad. So think about that. So you got some people with Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
They're losing their memory. They forget that they got a spouse. There's an open playing field out there, and if
Hmm.
a guy doesn't need the blue pill, if his dick is working, he got all those horny ladies. That guy's like a rooster in the hen house. Is he gonna be thinking about wearing a condom and stuff? No,
Hmm.
he's thinking like those ladies ain't gonna get pregnant. He's gonna be busting gallons upon gallons of raw nut.
Hmm.
And guess what? Whatever he catches, he spreads.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Basically true. He's literally the 80-20 rule, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's not even an 80-20 rule. It's not like you got 20% of guys. The guys, the male population is the 20.
Is what? Say it again.
The 80-20 rule. It's not like there's 80% of guys not getting. At that age, if you're still alive, you are part of the 20%. The 80% is the women. So
80%
yeah.
is winning. That's true.
I mean, I had a friend on Blotter Radio. He said once you're past age 50,
Hmm.
you keep yourself in good shape. All you got to do is you got to be in good enough shape. You look decent. You got
Yeah,
good hygiene, and your dick works.
and it works. Yeah.
And boom, that's it.
Boom. That's it. That's true.
Yep.
I can vouch for that. I can vouch for
So
that. Looking at my Plenty of Fish profile, it's like Jesus, go away. uh,
yeah, man. So I mean, going back to that thing with the STD, so it's something you got to be wary of your whole life, and
mhm.
you got an older generation that they probably think stuff like HIV. Either they think like STDs like HIV and stuff that's a gay disease, or they think it's a young people disease.
Mhm.
They don't think about the fact that just because you're not going to get pregnant doesn't mean you can't pass stuff around.
Yeah, and a lot of these, I said a lot of the old diseases that we thought we could take a shot for.
Well, you can still take a shot, but it's probably not going to work.
Yeah,
There's a
that's what I'm
new,
talking about. Because you have
yeah.
new strains, which should which I think in the mind share in people's idea that that sport fucking, I can just go take a shot, and it might not be true anymore.
Yeah, and just remember, folks. I think was it chlamydia or syphilis? I think syphilis. That's what did what's his name, Al Capone. And
Yeah,
he ended up getting that dementia and stuff because it fucks up your brain. You know.
yeah. It doesn't attack your nervous system, your nerves
I don't
eventually.
remember what the pathology is for that thing, but I mean, look, if you're sport fucking and you're cheating on your taxes, you're fucked. You'll get it both ways.
You'd be dickless and broke, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dickless, broke, and you'll lose your mind.
All right. Uh,
Yeah.
since we're gonna wrap it up, but we're gonna take a few questions from the chat. So if you guys want to ask the good doctor, Matt Haitian, some questions.
I don't know about good doctor, man, but
Mhm. When are you going to get there? When are you going to get your doctorate?
I'm not planning going back to a doctorate, man. I mean, look, I'm burned out from school and stuff, man.
Mhm.
I mean, by the time I finished grad school,
Mhm.
I mean, I was burned out. I needed to, be able to get in the workforce.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, where I am, I'm in a good position, especially in the field I am. Once
Mhm.
I finish getting training with flow cytometry, immuno-oncology, that's the hot field right now. The
Mhm.
direction medicine is going. No, I'm not gonna say I'm set for life, but I got something pretty good going.
So you gotta. So basically, you have a good career path
Yeah,
for
you
the
could say
future.
that.
Yeah. And I said, is the mucus the cause of all disease, like Dr. Sabi said? That's from Corey
Uh,
Pilgrim.
yeah, I'm not a pathologist, but I mean, mucus is definitely a good medium for a lot of pathogens to to wallow in. So in that sense, I don't know if it's the cause, but it's definitely a good vector for it.
And said, can a woman birth a child with previous partner's traits?
Well, I've heard of the microchimerism,
Yeah.
so which I don't know if it's been proven in humans, but yes, it has been shown in other animals. So it's not. I don't know so much they have their trait. They may have snippets of DNA here and there. Would that transmit into personality traits and stuff or looks? I don't know, but yeah, if a woman has done a lot of sport fucking, there is some chance that other DNA than the father who contributed sperm DNA might get included in there.
Okay. Let's see, all right, any last questions? In fact, before we answer any more questions, hit the like button, folks. Hit the like button, folks. Yeah. Mr. Calypso is giving his free expert time, so the least you can do is hit the like button. Any last questions before we let the good doctor get on with his day? How is Minnie Me, by the way? How's she doing?
Mini Me's doing good. She's loving it at school. She's she's doing very well. I mean, Mini Me's doing well. Me and my wife we're doing good.
Hmm.
We now my wife and I we've been having to deal with stuff with after my father-in-law passed away,
Okay. Yeah.
like
Sorry
the
to hear that.
all that whole. But that was like last November. But we still dealing with some stuff all the way till now. So it's it hasn't been easy. Like when somebody hasn't had a chance to get all their affairs in order and you
Okay.
gotta leave for your kids, like
Okay. So
it's
you got
one thing to own property and stuff, but if you don't deal with all that, like trust me,
yeah,
it's not as fun as it makes seem to cracked up to be.
yeah, the legal ramifications take a while to kind of
Oh yeah.
unwind. Yeah.
So
If she had siblings,
no, she is her father's only child.
oh, it shouldn't be as hard. So,
It shouldn't be as hard, but one of those things. For example, they recognize you enough. Oh, you're next of kin, so yeah, we need the estate tax. But
mm-hmm.
when you want, if there was no power of attorney, if there was no will, when you want to be able to liquidate property, oh well, your birth certificate doesn't have the stuff, even though it was issued by the state, but the format that it was way back then, you need to update that before we can allow you. I'm like, so wait, so you motherfuckers recognize my wife enough as her father's daughter to send a tax bill, but the same document is not enough to give her the right to sell. Oh yeah, motherfuckers. So yeah,
Yeah.
we've been dealing with that kind of shit.
Okay.
But
Yeah, and I guess it varies from state to state.
yeah.
Let's see, any last questions? Okay. No more questions, I guess. We almost 200 likes. You guys hit the like button.
Man, I play piano so long.
You're gonna have to practice it because it's gonna
Oh
become
yeah,
a
I
tradition.
need to practice to get mini me's ass in shape with that.
What you got her a tutor?
Well, she takes classes. The one of the teachers at school is actually a doctor of music. He teaches his kids, but we got to make her practice. That's the hard part. That's what I'm hoping my father can come visit some more because he's got some training as a music instructor, which
Mm-hmm.
would be great because then I wouldn't have to do it because I don't have the patience. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
but I'm
she
not
doesn't
gonna
have the
spend.
patience. She doesn't have the patience, and neither do you, huh?
Yeah, but I don't. I can't afford a $700 ticket just to get my dad to fly here to give me a
Nah,
yeah.
no, no. All right, folks. Any last questions before we let the good doctor go?
I'm only a doctor on Facebook and YouTube, and I do take confessions too. But in real life, I'm just a shit talking authoritarian Haitian with aspirations of world domination.
What are you gonna do tonight, Don Calypso? Try to take over the world.
Yes, Pinky.
All right, Don. I'm gonna let you go, man. What do you do? You gotta iron some clothes, or what you doing right now?
Actually, you know what? I was gonna iron some of Mini Me's uniforms. I got the towels washing, but yeah, I'm gonna iron Mini Me's uniform.
A
Hey,
Haitian that
that's the life of a father.
come pre-domesticated. You sacrifice a lot for the child, huh?
Well, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. I mean, anything we can do to to put her in a position, as Kirigakure Jones said, in a position of maximum security and advantage.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder what he.
Eh,
Oh, well, I have to go see what he thinks about Osaka and Serena Williams.
Oh, Naomi Osaka. I mean, hey, shoot. Look, she's half Haitian, half Japanese. I mean, and the media is trying to, erase her Haitian heritage, but apparently she always reminds people that, hey, I grew up Haitian, which is great.
You can't erase her Haitian heritage when she's as dark as she is. As soon as you
Nope, you
look at
can't.
it, there's something. She's not Japanese. So she's not
And she
completely
probably
Japanese.
speaks more. She probably speaks more Creole than she speaks Japanese.
Yeah, she said. I think she said they left Japan when she was 3.
Yeah. And my cousin's uncle, who was ambassador of Haiti to Japan, probably speaks more Japanese than she does. Ah, so that's ne BGS son. Arigato gozaimasu.
Hey, you're actually pretty good. You should have been a linguist.
I am a cunning linguist and master debater. I just don't speak that many languages. I know
Okay.
Tung Fu.
You know Tung Fu.
Yes.
That's from being deprived of black girls and dealing with Caucasian girls. You had to learn other skills.
Well, you could say that.
Anyway, man, thanks for dropping in. I'm glad we got this in.
Well, I'm glad to have been able to put it on the record. So, folks, if there's a takeaway lesson, don't
Wrap,
rush to take antibiotics. Consult your doctor.
yeah,
Okay?
and wrap it up.
Wrap it up. And if you are prescribed antibiotics, please take the full fucking regimen. Do not stop just because you feel better. If you're told to take it for 10 fucking days, take the antibiotics for 10 fucking days.
You kill them all.
Okay?
Yeah.
And if you have any extra drugs left over, take it to a clinic or someplace for proper disposal. Thank you.
that is your public service announcement.
Yep. I don't mean to scare you, Cats 938. I'm just telling it like it is.
And well, I know you don't. I know Cats doesn't go out there sports fucking, so she didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Just tell them to wrap it up, Cats.
Yep.
All right, folks, we're winding down.
All right. I think my towels just finished spinning, so let me go load that in the dryer and go iron Mini Me's uniform. Oh yeah, and yes, I do. And I do throw the wife a bone and get her work clothes ironed too, so make it easier for her in the morning. Hey, that's what marriage is about. You love your spouse. You want to do little things to make it easier.
Well, yeah. Well, she's not leaving you. That's for sure.
Hey, she does the cooking, so I don't mind doing the dishes. She does the cooking.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Yep.
That's fair. And plus you don't want her near the ironing board anyway, right?
Yo, nobody fucks with my shark iron. Okay.
That's what I heard.
You don't fuck with a man's iron. You don't fuck with his washer and dryer. I'm sorry.
That is true. Women will fuck up your clothes if you
Yep.
let them. They're not the same women that they used to be. So these New Jack women, they're not.
I know.
They have no the domestic skills.
I know. Somebody needs to teach those women about how to use starch, but that's a whole other show.
We need to break them back down to the what is it? The old the hard starch where you mix it yourself.
Yeah, maybe for Friday for the women's show and the BGS for women, maybe you guys can discuss, proper ironing and laundry technique. But all right, man. Thank you, El Viejo. I gotta run.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
All
and
right.
Sorry, I'm not doing Oregon. I already shut it down, but you guys got the first Calypso Oregon. You got to hear it first on BGS IBMOR's channel.
Yeah, you can check it out on the replay.
All right.
All right, Don. Thanks.
All right. Goodbye.